What happens when a daytime talk show host questions whether a man's journey from being a street-level drug dealer to a Grammy-nominated artist is real or just a marketed story? This is not another interview. It is one of the intense and unforgettable confrontations ever captured on daytime television. This is the moment when Jelly Roll, the singer from Antioch, Tennessee, had to defend his music and the idea of redemption itself. The studio was completely silent. The audience was holding its breath. Joy Behar found out a truth that cannot be packaged or sold. Some stories are etched in scars that are too deep to be dismissed as clever marketing. Before we go on, make sure to subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. What happens next will challenge everything you think you know about chances. That Tuesday morning, the energy in the View studio was electric. It was different. People knew Jelly Roll was the guest. This was not the usual crowd that comes to the show. There were women in their 40s and 50s wearing t-shirts with his lyrics on them. There were men who looked like they had driven all night to be. There were people with tattoos and tired eyes who had lived lives. These people had found something in Jelly Roll's music that spoke to their struggles. When Jelly Roll walked onto the set, the applause was very loud. There was something more to it. It was personal. People were grateful. It was the sound of people who felt seen by someone who had been through the tough times they had. Jelly Roll was impossible to miss. He is a man, over 300 pounds, with tattoos all over his neck and hands. His eyes looked at the audience. He understood them. He sat down in the guest chair, held onto the armrests for a moment before relaxing. Whoopi Goldberg welcomed Jelly Roll warmly. Sarah Haynes was very excited to meet him. The audience was eager to hear from the man whose songs about addiction, loss, and redemption had become anthems for people who were broken. Then Joy Behar leaned forward. Before the applause could stop, she asked a question. Jelly Roll, or should I say Jason, let me get straight to it. Everyone loves your story about redemption. You were a drug dealer who found Jesus and country music. Tell me how much of that is real and how much of it is just good marketing. Is it a story that was made up to sell records and capture hearts? The studio became cold. Whoopi's smile stopped. Sarah Haynes looked at her notes like they might help her. Jelly Roll stared at Joy Behar like she had made a big mistake. I'm sorry, Jelly Roll said. Did you just ask me if my life is a marketing trick? I'm asking if the story you're telling is the truth, Joy said. Because it's very convenient. You had a past, you went to prison, you did drugs, and then you changed your life through music and faith. It's too perfect. It's like someone made it all up for impact. The accusation was in the air. The audience was uncomfortable. Many of them had come to see Jelly Roll. They did not like what Joy Behar was saying. Let me make sure I understand what you're asking me, Jelly Roll said slowly. You're asking if I made up being a drug dealer, if I made up going to prison, if I made up being addicted to heroin and cocaine, if I made up watching friends die from overdoses. Is that what you're saying? I'm saying that the way this story is told, it feels like a plan, Joy said. And I wonder, how much of the man we see on stage crying during songs talking about his daughter praising Jesus is real and how much is a performance? Jelly Roll was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke, his voice quieter but sharper. You want to know what's real, Joy? I'll tell you what's real. I spent my birthday in a juvenile detention center. That's real. I watched my friend overdose on pills I sold him. That's real. I missed the 5 years of my daughter's life because I was either locked up or too high to be a father. That's real. Jelly Roll held onto the arms of the chair, his hands tattooed with the story of his life. It was like the tattoos could prove the truth of his words. I have felonies on my record. That is something that will be with me for the rest of my life. I am not allowed to vote. I am not allowed to own a gun. There are some countries that I am not even allowed to visit because of the things I did when I was young and reckless and desperate. You think that is something I would want to talk about? Do you really think anyone would choose to share this story if they had any option? I told her that yes, the tours are expensive. I use the money I make to fund programs that help people who are addicted and cannot afford treatment. I visit prisons, talk to kids who are making the same mistakes I made. I support families who have lost loved ones to overdoses. I asked her if that is part of my brand, too, if that is just marketing. Joy said that those are things to do, but she also said that they generate positive press for me. She said that every time I visit a prison or share my story, it reinforces the idea that I'm this certain kind of person. She said it is hard to tell what is real and what is part of the act. I leaned forward, looked at her, my voice low. I told her about the prison I visited, a maximum security prison in Kentucky. I sat in a room with 50 men who will never get out, men who have been labeled as unforgivable by society. I told them my story, about the times I almost died and the times I wished I had. I told them about the moment I decided to change my life. One of the men, a man who was maybe 60 years old and had been locked up for 30 years, came up to me after I spoke. He grabbed my hand, started crying. He told me that he had given up hope a time ago, but hearing my story made him realize that maybe he could still be someone different even if he never got out of prison. I asked Joy if she thought I did that for the press if I shared my story with those men just to get a headline. I told her that I did it because I used to be like them, and if nobody had helped me, I would be dead or locked up too. I stood up. I am a big guy, over 6 feet tall and over 300 pounds with tattoos all over my body. When I spoke, my voice was calm and gentle, and that made what I said even more powerful. I told Joy that if she wants to see something that is calculated, I can show her. Calculated is when you come to an interview with questions that are designed to provoke me just to get a reaction. Calculated is when you bring up my past, not because you care about addiction or recovery, because controversy sells. Calculated is when you question someone's faith to make yourself look clever. Joy tried to say that she is just doing her job as a journalist asking questions. I interrupted her and I laughed. I told her that hard questions would be about the crisis that is killing people all over America. Hard questions would be about how we can help people who are addicted get treatment of prison time. Hard questions would be about why we give up on people of giving them a chance to change. What she is doing is not asking questions, it is just trying to tear down someone who is actually doing something to help. I pointed at her, my hand steady. I told her that people connect with my music because I tell the truth. I tell the truth about addiction, about pain, about shame, and about the hope that if you fight enough, you can be better than you were. Whoopi tried to intervene. I said, no, I need to finish. I said that this is not about me. It is about all the people out there who are trying to change their lives, who are being told by people like Joy that it is impossible. My voice got softer. I felt like I was talking just to Joy. I told her that I have a daughter, Bailey Ann, and she is the reason I got clean. She is the reason I'm still alive. When she was little, she used to visit me in jail. That was hard for me. It was hard to see my child on the side of the glass, knowing that I put myself there, knowing that I was failing her. Jelly Roll's voice cracked a little. He kept talking. I made a promise to my daughter that I would become someone she could be proud of. This was not a promise to a record label or to my fans. It was a promise to my daughter, looking into her eyes and swearing that her daddy was going to change. Every day since then, I have been trying to keep that promise to my daughter. He looked around at the people in the audience. His voice got stronger. My wife, Bunny, she knows everything about me. She knows all the things I have done, all the people I have hurt, and all the lies I have told. She knows about the women, the drugs, and the violence, all of it. Even with all that, she chose to love me anyway. Not because she does not know the truth, but because she believes people can change. She has seen me change. She was there for me on nights when I wanted to use, and she held me while I cried instead. Jelly Roll's voice got thick with emotion. My wife has stood by me through things that would have made most people run away. She believed in me when I could not even believe in myself. You want to tell me that my transformation is just marketing? You want to tell me that the life we have built, the family we have made, and the love that saved me is all a way to sell myself? There were tears in his eyes, but he did not wipe them away. You want to call that marketing? That is fine. Call it whatever you want. I know the truth. My daughter knows the truth. All the people who have come to me after shows crying and telling me that my music gave them the courage to get help, they know the truth too. Joy shifted in her seat, looking uncomfortable. I did not mean to suggest that your relationship with your daughter is not real. Yes, you did, Jelly Roll said, cutting her off. That is what you suggested. You suggested that everything about me is fake, that nothing is real, and that even my love for my child is part of some plan to make myself look good. I am here to tell you, you are wrong, dead wrong. He sat back down. People could still feel his presence in the room. You know what I find interesting about people like you, Joy? You have never had to fight for anything that really matters. You have never had to climb out of a hole you dug yourself. You have never looked in the mirror, hated what you saw, and then found the strength to change anyway. So you do not believe it is possible. You think everyone who says they have changed is lying because you cannot imagine having the courage to change yourself. This really hit Joy. She looked like she could not speak. Let me tell you something about my past that I do not usually share, Jelly Roll said. When I was at my lowest, using every day and selling to feed my habit, I had a gun in my mouth. I was ready to end it all. The only thing that stopped me was thinking about my daughter growing up without a father, a terrible one. The whole studio was quiet. The cameras seemed to be holding their breath. That is not marketing, Joy. That is rock bottom. That is the moment you realize you have to change or die. I chose to change. It was not easy. It was not quick. It took years of work, failing and getting back up again. I did it. And now I use my music to tell people, if I can do it, you can too. Jelly Roll's voice got louder with conviction. Every person in every prison I visit, every addict I talk to, every kid heading down the path. I tell them the thing. You are not your worst mistake. You are not what you did yesterday. You have the power to become someone. That message is not fake joy. That message is the thing that kept me alive long enough to sit here today. He looked around the studio, locking eyes with people in the audience who were openly crying. I see people who know what I am talking about. People who have fought the battles, who have lost loved ones to the same demons. They did not come here to watch me get torn down by someone who has never walked a mile in their shoes. They came here because they believe in chances, because they need to believe that change is possible. He turned back to Joy. What do you believe in, Joy, besides trying to stir up controversy and get ratings? What have you ever fought for? What have you ever overcome? What message do you send to the world besides being skeptical and cynical? These questions really hurt Joy. She seemed to shrink in her chair. I believe in asking questions, she said, her voice weaker than before. No, you do not, Jelly Roll replied, calm but firm. You believe in asking questions that make you look cool. You believe in attacking people who cannot fight back. People who are trained to smile and take it because that is what celebrities are supposed to do. Jelly Roll is a survivor. He said that survivors fight back. Sarah Haynes spoke up. She said, Jelly Roll, I think what Joy was trying to say. Jelly Roll replied. He said, I know what she was trying to say. He said that Joy was saying his story is too good to be true. That no one really changes that much. That underneath all the talk about redemption, Jelly Roll is still the drug dealer who once poisoned his own community. Jelly Roll paused. He let the words sink in. He said, and you know what? Part of Jelly Roll agrees with Joy. Part of Jelly Roll still feels like that person. Part of Jelly Roll still carries the guilt for every mistake Jelly Roll has ever made. Friends dead because of drugs Jelly Roll sold. Relationships broken. People disappointed. 20 years of consequences that don't just vanish because Jelly Roll wrote some songs about it. Jelly Roll was being honest. He said, but here's the thing, Joy. Redemption isn't about erasing the past. It's about building something in spite of it. Taking that pain, that shame, and turning it into something that might help someone. That's what Jelly Roll does every day. Not to feel better about Jelly Roll. It's the way Jelly Roll knows to make any of it mean something. Jelly Roll turned to the audience. His voice was like a preacher's. He said, Jelly Roll has sat with mothers who lost children to the drugs Jelly Roll used to sell. Jelly Roll has looked them in the eyes, told them what Jelly Roll did. Jelly Roll has asked for their forgiveness, knowing Jelly Roll doesn't deserve it. You know what most of them say? Thank you. Thank you for being honest. Thank you for trying to stop it from happening to someone. Thank you for not pretending you're better than you are. People in the audience were crying. Jelly Roll said, that's what redemption looks like, Joy. It's not pretty. It's not comfortable. It's not a marketing strategy. It's getting on your knees every day, asking for the strength to be better than you were yesterday. It's facing the people you hurt and owning it. It's using the parts of your story to maybe, just maybe, prevent someone else from writing the same one. Jelly Roll stood up. He was getting ready to leave. Jelly Roll had more to say. He said, Jelly Roll wants to speak to everyone watching now. Anyone struggling in the grip of addiction, locked up and feeling hopeless, thinking their mistakes are unforgivable. Jelly Roll's voice was shaking with emotion. He said, you can change. Jelly Roll knows it doesn't feel like it. Jelly Roll knows the voices in your head are telling you that you're worthless, that you'll never be different, that you might well give up. They're lying. Jelly Roll's living proof they're lying. It will be the thing you've ever done. You'll fail times then you succeed. If you keep fighting, if you refuse to give up, you can become someone you never imagined you could be. Jelly Roll looked at Joy one time. He said, that's the message Jelly Roll carries every day. That's why Jelly Roll tells his story. Not for marketing, not for money, because somewhere someone needs to hear it. Someone holding a gun the way Jelly Roll once did, deciding if life is worth living. And if Jelly Roll's music, Jelly Roll's story, Jelly Roll's honesty can convince one person to put that gun down, then everything Jelly Roll has been through was worth it. Jelly Roll wiped his eyes. He said, you ask if Jelly Roll is genuine. Here's Jelly Roll's answer. Jelly Roll has been more honest with the world about Jelly Roll's failures than most people are with their families. Jelly Roll has talked about addiction crime, the people Jelly Roll hurt, the shame Jelly Roll carries every day. Jelly Roll did it knowing some would never forgive Jelly Roll, knowing some doors would always be closed, knowing Jelly Roll's past would follow Jelly Roll forever. Jelly Roll's voice was very quiet. He said, that's not marketing, Joy. That's confession. That's penance. That's a man trying to make amends by helping others avoid the path. If you can't see the difference, Jelly Roll feels sorry for you. Because you've clearly never known what it means to be broken and put yourself back together. Jelly Roll was leaving. He said Jelly Roll's mama always told Jelly Roll that hurt people hurt people. Jelly Roll doesn't take what you've said personally. Jelly Roll doesn't know the pain you're carrying that makes you tear others down. Attacking someone's redemption says more about you than it does about them. Jelly Roll turned to the audience one time. He said, "Thank you all for your support. Thank you for believing in chances. Thank you for giving people like Jelly Roll a reason to keep fighting. Jelly Roll loves you all." Then Jelly Roll walked off the set of The View. The studio was different now. Women were crying. Men were wiping their eyes. The hosts were sitting in silence. Joy Behar was still at the table. She looked smaller now. The audience was quiet. They were not clapping. They were just thinking about what Jelly Roll had said. It was a moment. So what do you think about this conversation between Jelly Roll and Joy? Was Joy out of line? Was she just doing her job? You can tell us what you think. Do not forget to subscribe for stories that will leave you speechless.